Some Democrats are applauding President Obama's decision to normalize relations with Cuba. But some observers say that the euphoria over Cuba may not translate into campaign cash for Democratic candidates in 2016. In fact, the Cuban warm-up may become a financial windfall for Republicans. According to the Washington journal Politico, affluent Cuban-American donors are already talking about spending big sums to challenge politicians who side with Obama and to support rivals who oppose normalization with Cuba. This cash rift could widen if the 2016 presidential election pits a Democrat who claims to favor normalization, such as Hillary Clinton, against a Republican who claims to oppose it. Those apparent opponents include former Florida Governor Jeb Bush and Florida Senator Marco Rubio. And notably, Florida is a key swing state with a politically active population of Cuban expatriates. Cuban-American Republican consultant Otto Reich remarked, "The Cuban-American community tends to be pretty quiet until you step on their toes." He added, "This is going to motivate a lot of people who have been sitting on the sidelines on this issue." Political positions on U.S.-Cuban relations do not fall neatly along partisan lines. Some Democrats, like New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, who is of Cuban descent, support trade restrictions against Cuba. Yet some Republicans, such as Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, a likely 2016 presidential candidate, supports increased trade with the communist Caribbean island. In addition, several polls suggest that many, if not most, Americans favor normalization. But according to Democratic consultant Juan Proano, wealthy donors for whom this issue is a high priority overwhelmingly oppose engaging with Cuba. That regime is now run by Raul Castro, the brother of Cuba's Marxist revolutionary founding father, Fidel Castro. So in South Florida, where many people deeply care about the issue, the anti-communist hardliners tend to be older, while the next generation is a little more aloof. But the bigger picture will become clearer as time passes. For example, the U.S. once went to war against North Vietnam in an operation much larger than the botched Bay of Pigs mission in 1962 that failed to overthrow Fidel Castro's newly found communist Cuba. Yet, after nearly 10 grueling years in Vietnam, the communist regime in Hanoi swallowed South Vietnam. America, the world's greatest superpower, was forced to leave without a definable victory. And as the Vietnam War wound down, President Richard Nixon broke the ice with Mao Zedong's Communist China, which only a few years earlier endured a brutal cultural revolution that resulted in the deaths of millions of innocent people. In the wake of Nixon's historic China visit, relations with China were gradually normalized, and before long, the words "Made in China" appeared widely in American stores. A little later, garment tags in many stores read, "Made in Vietnam." Indeed, America has normalized trade with other communist nations that have committed much larger atrocities than those carried out by Cuba, although many Cuban Americans will tell you that Castro's Cuba and its prison system have seriously abused human rights. There's an apparent pattern here. The U.S. will officially oppose and isolate a given communist regime, but eventually, regardless of the regime's crimes, the U.S. will normalize relations. Free trade soon follows, even if trade deficits like the one with China actually strengthen the communist government. So if history is our teacher, the words "Made in Cuba" will someday appear on products sold in the United States. And when that happens, we might perceive that normalization is when corporate control replaces communist control.